Carrie. I'm so glad to be back with another awesome episode of the Zenpreneur show. And I'm so happy to finally bring Bruce on. He is an amazing friend that I met through Provisors. And I always say when I meet people from Provisors. All right. Hi, everybody. It's Carrie. I'm so glad to be back with another awesome episode of the Zenpreneur show. And I'm so happy to finally bring Bruce on. He is an amazing friend that I met through Provisors. And I always say when I meet people from Provisors, I try to get them on if they're amazing, because you definitely want to get to know the amazing professionals that I've met. But I will say Bruce is somebody that I met through a guesting experience in Provisors. And I'm so excited to talk to him today because he has an amazing business. So Bruce, thank you so much for joining me. And why don't you introduce yourself and tell us all about you and who you are.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. And I won't take the whole time in here and tell all about me. I'll let you ask me some questions. But just real quick, the question that's going to come up always is people say, why do you call yourself the Client Whisperer? And actually, I was named that by a client of mine because I was able to help him really see their business through the eyes of their clients. And for him and his firm, that was a pretty amazing experience that really took their successful firm and made it fabulously successful.
Yeah, I love that. And if, for those of you who don't know, like that's one of the things that I found super fascinating about Bruce was he has a unique perspective on finding your best fit clients, which is really why I wanted to bring him on to the show, because that is something that is so important. As you know, I work with particularly law firms and financial firms, and sometimes we forget how important it is to not take everybody, but to really know who are our really best fit. Sometimes in the marketing world, we call them ideal clients, but I like the way that Bruce frames it as the best fit clients, because it's just important that it's a good fit for you as it is a good fit for them. So that kind of leads me into the first question, which I'm really excited to talk about. So I'd love it if you could kind of explain and share with everybody kind of your concept of the best fit client, and why that's so important for a firm or a business to focus on.
Sure. And one thing I always say is I will never use the term ideal client.
Good.
What I always tell people is what you care about is who are you the ideal provider for?
Love it.
And that sets the perspective of it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about them and how do you improve their business. So the goal really, I mean, let's face it, the goal in any of our businesses is to be able to earn more without working harder and longer. And so how do you do that? Well, you want to, take the people with which you create the greatest value, that see the greatest value in working with you, that are they're the ones that are the most profitable and most fun are usually also, they're the ones that aren't going to go anywhere. They're the ones that understand, that are enjoyable to work with. That's the fit part, because we talk about what we can do, technical skills, and that's great. Yeah, we've got technical skills that we can do, but there's a lot of people out there, a lot of clients for whom we aren't a good fit. And it's nothing wrong with you or me or them. It's just that we operate differently. Think high touch, low touch, something like that. And if you have a mismatch, it creates a relationship that easily becomes very transactional. And the big value is not in the transactional relationships. So I ask people, if you had a magic wand, which of your clients would you clone if you could? Those are your best clients. Yeah. And if you were to do all the math of who's more profitable and lifetime value, it's going to be like a 99.5% overlap, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier, more accessible way to ask that question.
I agree 100%. And I often hear in the marketing space so much about good leads or quality leads, or, bringing in more leads. And I'm always thinking about, well, how come we're not talking about developing our amazing current clients and creating that lifetime value with the amazing clients that we have? That's just, to me, that's so valuable, and it's not talked about nearly as much. So I appreciate that you share that.
Well, and the other value of those best clients, as I call them, best fit clients, whatever you want to call them, is that those clients, not only are they more profitable, they're more fun to work with, but they buy faster because they see, oh man, Carrie, you get me.
Yeah.
They will pay more because they see you as an investment in their business as opposed to a cost. So it's not that they like to pay more, but they see the value, they see the return. And so they're much more willing to pay for that.
Yeah,
and so they buy faster, they pay more, they don't create headaches. Other than that, they're just like everyone else.
Yeah, it's really interesting too. And it's not something, if you're in professional services like I am and you are, I think that that is something that we just get so busy doing that we're not thinking about that as much. And we're thinking about, it's so much easier to think about, oh, I just need more leads. Not necessarily. I think what you're saying here is so important. So I would be curious to know, when you're working with your own client, and you're talking about this and working with your own clients, like what are some common challenges or issues that you're kind of seeing across the boards when it comes to maybe even beginning the process of identifying a best fit client? Like what are some issues that you see come up?
Sure. I mean, some of the easy ones are people that get a kind of a transactional mindset. They get blinded by someone's going to give me money. And the fact is, that's a terrible way to build a business. That may be a good way to start a business, but being able to say no to a poor fit client is like a superpower, because that frees up your capacity to work with more of your best clients. And you can actually, they tend to create fewer headaches. You can actually serve more of your best clients than the poor fit clients. Now, the other thing that happens is that really is if you have a client that thinks in terms of cash rather than impact. This is really prevalent in professional services. So we'll just pick on lawyers, but I love lawyers. I married one.
They're kind of easy to pick on sometimes.
But in terms of consultants or financial people, CPAs, lawyers, we tend to think, and a lot of us, in other areas, we tend to think in terms of process. What is it that we do? Think of the old networking question. What do you do? Well, the fact is nobody cares about what you do. They care about what they can do because of what you do. Now, internally, in order to run our businesses, to run a law firm, to practice law, process is really important. That's how you avoid malpractice and all sorts of bad outcomes. But that's not what the client's buying. The client is buying what they can do as a result of what you do. And so you have to be bilingual to really take advantage of this. And if you can talk to the clients in terms of impact on their business, they will say, you get me. How much can I, and they'll see your value, skyrocket, because it's tied to not the hours you put in, but what they can do with their business. And then when you actually deliver, you've got to think in terms internally. Now you're running an operation. Does that make sense?
Totally. I always, in marketing, we call it like the transformation, essentially. It's like, that's what, it's going to sound really skeezy the way I say it, but the transformation is what really sells typically. And it's the same, you're just saying it in a much more eloquent, like nicer, gentler way, but it's so true. Like knowing the how is not necessarily of interest to my clients per se, but the impact of what I do or what you do and what a lawyer can do for a client and how somebody's life will be changed because of their service is really what people are buying.
I'll give you a couple examples, one specific and one a little more general. The specific one was worked with a lawyer who they do sales contracts. I mean, how boring is that? Yeah, we help
technical. Yeah.
Well, but so they used to talk about how many they actually kept a count of how many sales contracts they'd written. And now what they do is they talk about examples. They talk about what their clients can do because of the sales contract. They can bring in, the cash faster with greater certainty. There was one case where they had a client who was able to, because they're bringing in more cash faster on their sales, in fact, they were bringing in working capital. They were able to finance less working capital. And so their CEO of the client they work with now introduces them as like, this is my attorney that helped me, increase my working capital. Like, what? And then he tells the story, and it's a great introduction. Now, there's almost always something that we do in terms of just relationships. So that's the impact side, but the relationship, the how, and I call it your secret sauce, because if I were to ask, you probably have clients like this, Carrie. If I were to ask you, what is so special about your relationship with Mary? And you'd say, oh man, I know it's something real. It's not, it's figment of my imagination, but I can't name it. And if I ask Mary, she's going to say the same thing. Oh, Carrie is the best to work with. Well, why is that? Oh, value, or she's an expert. And so I call it your secret sauce, because it's secret. You don't know what it is. And that's when I get in talking with people, and they eventually peel back the onion and they say, oh, there's this thing that Carrie does that I never really thought about. But if she were to stop doing it, it would be a totally different relationship. That's your secret sauce. Once you can name it, you can start to talk about it. And when you talk about it, people say, you get me, which is the magic words in developing new clients, or more of your best clients.
Yeah. I think that's the trick, isn't it? Like knowing what you're seeing, figuring out, peeling back that onion is the key for sure. I agree with that. And it kind of makes me think, I'm going to be thinking about this after this call, I think, because it makes me wonder, like, if I even know my own secret sauce. I'm definitely going to be thinking about
most people don't. That's why I call it your secret sauce. It's not some, it's because there's something there, but you can't articulate it.
Yeah.
You can do it by correlation, but until you understand the causation, you can't scale it.
Very true. Oh, that's 100% true.
And you can't scale to other people at your firm. If you're a solo, maybe that's not such a big problem. But if you're running a law firm and you're trying to increase the number of rainmakers, being able to scale that magic for the firm is really, really important.
That is so true. And if you're someone like me who does high level service, or if you're maybe a smaller firm, for example, taking this special thing out of here and replicating that's the key to doing that, is knowing how to figure out that special sauce, and then you can pull it out and begin to like teach it to other people and train and like duplicate. And don't bother trying to do that until you figure that out. I would say, having been down that road before, and I work with clients who scale also, if you're choosing to replicate by bringing in other people that want to do what you do, that's so important. So I love that. So it's interesting that we're kind of talking, you alluded to this a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit about, once you kind of know, you have a good idea of your best fit clients, how can a business or a firm start to talk about that and use it in their messaging or their marketing, or even in maybe like outreach, like you mentioned, networking or outreach strategies, so that they can begin to like kind of draw those people in a little bit more easily?
Yeah. So, that's where the rubber meets the road. And so what you're able to do when you start to talk about your secret sauce, as I say, or what it is, why your best clients choose you, not why someone chooses someone like you, but why your best clients choose you, is that now you can get away from the marketing differentiation. And I always use my favorite example is the surfing attorney. It's like, well, how does that make them a better attorney?
Yeah.
For me? But they can check off the unique box. Now, the cool thing is when you start to talk about why your best clients choose you, you suddenly don't have to be unique, because you're talking about something that you actually do that actually connects with certain people, not everyone. And that's the other part, is that other people say, oh, well, I'm sure Bruce is really smart, but he doesn't feel like a great fit. That's great, because they're self-selecting out as a non-best client. And so you're able to be absolutely authentic about who you are, how you operate, the impact that you have. And people say, well, that's not unique. Except that when you actually talk to clients and prospects, yes, what you do, you're not claiming to be unique, but the way you talk about it is not the way anyone else talks about it. Mm-hmm. And so you get to have the effect of being unique or a differentiator without having to make something up that, well, someone else already says this.
Yeah.
And the other thing I talk about is it also gets you in the mindset of being what I call a great choice. So best choice. Everyone wants the best choice. We all want the best, right? But for any sort of intangible, think professional services, there is no way to tell what is best. You could like drain the ocean trying to get all the information, and then you're still taking a guess at the end. And worse than that, the best choice is a point in time. 6 months from now, still best choice? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I should look. A great choice is one that you can make with confidence and not have to have second thoughts. A great choice is a state. Until something changes, you are a great choice. And a great choice. So from that standpoint, the client, really what they're looking for is a great choice. A choice they can make that they will be, completely confident that, that this will serve their needs. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to, reevaluate it. And when you do that, they can stop.
Yes.
And you say, well, what happens if there's another firm is a great choice? So what? Yes, you can't be passive and be a great choice and get business. But once they find a great choice, once the client finds a great choice, it's in their interest to stop. Why are they going to, how much effort are they going to put in chasing something they don't even know whether it exists? Mm-hmm. Now, the problem is from a business development standpoint is you can't say, we're the best, we're the best, we're the best. Oh, here, please sign on the dotted line because we're a great choice. You've got to bake that into your whole pitch, how you talk about your firm. Now you're talking, but you're also talking about impacts. So you're getting away from the process. You don't have to say we have the best process. We create the best. We create great impacts. Now, all of a sudden, it all blends together. Now you're talking about your own direct outreach, the conversations you have at networking, what your referral partners say about you. It all comes together very, very nicely. And now you have consistency, you have impact, and you have something that, while it may not theoretically be unique or that different, actually comes across as very different to potential clients.
I love that. And I like the reframe from best to great. I find that to be a thing in marketing when people are looking for marketing support, that I think is a hindrance. There's other hindrances, but can kind of stop them or kind of paralyze them from getting support that they need when they need it. It can be a little bit of a paralyzing factor, I find. So I like that positioning yourself as a great choice can be a really helpful thing to help people make quicker decisions when they're looking to get support.
If I'm a CPA and I tell you I am the best CPA, you going to believe me?
No, I mean, it's so
because every other CPA is saying they're the best. There's a million of us. And so it means that it just becomes noise. So now you have your marketing that says that you're the best, or your introduction saying you're best, that now becomes noise. Well, how effective is that? Yeah. Now you're taking a little slice of time that you have with people and you're devaluing it.
So true. And I don't think I've ever, it's funny you mentioned best. I don't think I've ever described myself as best at anything. I just have never, I'm much more comfortable talking about it in the way that you're describing. It almost feels more natural. I don't know why.
Better too. It's more honest. Better.
It's just more honest. I think it's just because there's so much happening in my particular area in marketing. There's so many different specialties that it is naturally leads to kind of hesitant to say best, because in what there's like 16 different verticals within marketing. There's tons. And so it's kind of the same with law firms, I would find too, that I would be hesitant to say, and this is where like the billboards come in, like the best personal injury. Well, like there's like 50 million of them in Florida right now. So how do I know for sure that this one versus that, like that can be a little confusing. So I love that you talk about, I say all that to say that I like the way that sounds, because it almost would make it,
it works. It works. It's not about making it sound good. It's about what works and what connects you with clients for whom you are going to have a good working relationship. And if they're looking, if they're dead set that they must have the best, and if you don't claim you're the best, they won't work with you. Well, then it's probably not going to be a great relationship.
Yeah. And that's another thing I have talked about a lot with clients, because in marketing, I'm always explaining to people that we want to repel or keep away the wrong people for whatever it is, whether it be a high-end service or it could be a product, whatever it is. You don't want to draw in somebody that this can't actually help and that it's not a good fit for. So that's counterintuitive to what a lot of people, I think, want. sometimes. So I do sometimes get some pushback to that, but I wouldn't want the wrong people to get into the service, because why would you want to do, like, why would you want to work with that? That would be so hard on everybody, I think. One of the things I was thinking about too, that we have alluded to a little bit earlier, is the kind of long-term relationships, what, as we know, is called lifetime customer value in the marketing world. But I'm curious to know, since that is such an important part, kind of like the next level maybe of once you're bringing in such great, amazing best fit clients, like how do you think a business or a firm can really develop and ensure that they have a great, long-lasting relationship with their best fit clients?
Well, you have to be, you have to see the relationship as going beyond the monetary transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may have a quote transactional relationship because your business, you do something that there's not, you're not going to have a, think of criminal, defense or
Right.
something where you don't want to have an ongoing relationship, but you need to think about that relationship as it's not just, if I'm just doing a job because you give me money to spend some hours on it, that's where most professionals are.
Yeah.
And those are terrible clients for me, because they don't get the greater value. The ones that are good clients for me are the ones that say, okay, I am building, a relationship. There's something bigger. It doesn't mean I get paid less. I probably get paid more by doing this, because I'm working with the right types of clients that really appreciate what I do and what I bring. Now, my best clients tend to have, longer term relationships with clients. So they tend not to be the highly transactional. But even then there's twists to that. So I had a client that does tax controversy work. So in theory, it's not a quick transaction, but it might be several years, but it in essence is transactional work. They don't want their clients to come back for repeat business. But for them, what's really valuable in the long-term relationship is the wealth advisors and the CPAs that are referral partners for them. And so when we did work together, it was really, it's not so much about generating leads off the website and whatnot. There's a place for that, but you need to be really focused. What was untapped for them was how do they go out and work their referral partners, as opposed to, we do tax controversy work, send us stuff, to really helping build those relationships. So how do they improve the relationship that the CPA has with their client who has the tax problem? Well, they have services that can help with that. But if you can send us your tax problems and we will help the client, or it can be, hey, Carrie, your CPA practice, you have some clients that, well, if they get into lots of tax problems, go bankrupt, they're probably not very good clients for you. How do I help you help your clients? Now, all of a sudden, that's a very different relationship. And instead of just waiting for referrals, those referral partners are now actively, they're not trying to create tax problems, but they're actively looking for the right type of clients with the right type of problems, and they're spreading the word because that's really important to their business.
It's very true. And I would even say, because that's very powerful, and I don't know if everybody in professional services like understands how valuable.
If they did, I'd have no job.
But you would. I know. I was just thinking, like, maybe you wouldn't. What would you do then? But it's like, man, the power of relationships with other professionals that are maybe in adjacent services but work similar. Like, that has been one of the key ways that I have brought on really wonderful clients is through other professionals who don't do exactly what I do. And that has been one of the most powerful ways that I have developed longer term relationships, is through that versus, like you said, just waiting around for great people to come along type of a deal. So I can't emphasize enough how powerful that strategy is and how impactful it is.
Well, and there's three kind of scenarios you talked about there. One is the pure transaction. and you can ask people, do you know someone that, is in this situation? You can help them by the reciprocal. You give me one, I'll give you one. That becomes a transaction. That can generate business, but it's a transactional relationship. Or it can be, hey, Carrie, I can help you with your clients. Now I make money. I make a lot of money off of it, but I'm bringing real value, and I can help you build better relationships with your clients.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe there's times when I can send, clients to you, but that's not the value. The value, I'm creating value, even though it may be mostly one way towards me, but it's really important to you.
Yeah.
And people don't think about it that way. That becomes there's more value than just what, happens in the transaction.
Yeah. It's not just about, not that money isn't great, don't get me wrong, but it's not just a monetary is one aspect of customer value and lifetime customer value. It's a nice one, don't get me wrong, that's important. It's a data point we can certainly track, but I do think when you're taking your business to the next level, whatever that means to you, you have to think about beyond just the money aspect of customer value, in my opinion. So I love that you mentioned that.
So let's just take that one for a second. Because people think about growth as being money, and certainly a lot of attorneys think about it. It's more billable hours. Just whatever billable hours. That's growth. Well, and that's most attorneys out there, because that's how they're trained. And once again, those aren't very good clients for me. The ones that are great clients are the ones that are business people whose business is to provide legal services. They do the same lawyering that the other lawyers do, but they think about it from a standpoint of scaling. They think about it in terms of client fit. They think about it in terms of Pareto, and the top 20% of your clients generate 80% of your profit.
Yep.
But what people don't think about is the bottom 20% cause 80% of your headaches.
That's right.
So if you could just turn a switch and get rid of the bottom ones so you didn't have headaches, you had more of the top ones, well, I would have no job. But people would be very happy. The trick is learning, well, why do those best clients choose you, and what makes that relationship so special? Because it's not that it's just that they're more profitable than the other ones, and you can't fix the ones that are the bottom clients. They're not bad clients, because they may be someone else's best client. It's a bad fit for you. So the high touch client, if you're a low touch kind of professional, the high touch client that's always asking questions, wants to micromanage you, all that kind of stuff that drives you crazy.
Yep.
There are other people that do the same thing that you do on paper, but they love those clients because they get to explain everything. And so there's an opportunity to, instead of fire your bad clients or your bottom clients, you get to upgrade them to someone where they are a best client. And so now there's no regret on your part about, oh, well, I feel mean. It's like, I'm doing a service.
Yeah.
They're going to love me. The other professionals are going to love me. I get to get rid of the headaches, which means that I probably have more capacity to do maybe 2 best clients instead of 1 unprofitable or poorly profitable, bottom client. So I'm earning more. I'm not working harder. I've got less stress. The dog doesn't get kicked in the evening. Everyone,
yeah.
It's really, it can be driven by growth. I want to grow and want to make more, but life is actually better when you get it right.
Yeah. And I think you can probably expand the definition of growth too, beyond monetary scale. I'm with you. I work, it sounds like we work with very similar types of people. That's actively who I'm looking for. And it's not because there's anything wrong with a law firm or any business that thinks that way, the opposite way. It's just that for me doesn't align with my internal and business core values. And so that's important so that they can get the support, the best care that they need from the best person to take care of them. That's kind of the way I've been looking at it lately. And that helps so much. So if you're in professional services, just keep that in mind. It's a process to get to that place. So I understand that not everybody's ready for that.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset
shift.
As a process. Every one of my clients is a super hard worker. There's no one there saying, "Hey, I want to work less and earn the same because I'm lazy." But none of them are classic workaholics where maybe, earlier in their career, they dealt with that and had some burnout issues or something. And it's like, how do I use my smart to have the earnings, but also have the life? Because what good is it to be rich if you're miserable?
That's right. I know
There's a lot of miserable rich people, especially a lot of miserable rich lawyers.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of very well-to-do, doing very well, very happy, not stressed out, they work hard, but not stressed out or burning out or alcoholic or happy marriages, all those kinds of things, because they structure it so that they're working with people that bring them joy. Every client brings you either sucks energy or generates energy for you. You feel energized having worked with them.
Yeah, that's a key. That part right there. You're not drained. That leads me to my last question, which is funny because you mentioned I think you might have alluded to a little bit there. So I'm curious, any warning signs? So when we're thinking about best fit clients, like any classic warning signs that maybe somebody is not a great fit, maybe is not a best fit client, like any classic warning signs that maybe you've seen that a business can be on the lookout for?
Sure. And best clients are not universal. There's nothing universal there. They're specific to you. So I will talk about my own best clients, and then I'll just offer a little bit of contrast. I wasn't
sure if it could be universal or not.
Well, the only bad clients are the ones that don't pay. And
agreed.
I will make no excuse for them, but there's people that haggle, and they're hard to get paid. There are professionals out there that actually like working with people. They don't like that part, but that personality that makes them do that. So my best clients, I look about if they really start to drill down and tell me about all the processes. I need to get under the hood. They're not focused on the impact. What can I do for their business? They're trying to they're trying to reverse engineer my process. Not that they're necessarily trying to duplicate it, but they want to know all the details. And it's not that I will tell them, I'm the world's most transparent person. But if that's what they're focused on, they're not focused on the impact. And that means that they're going to think about me in terms of process, or buying a process, which means that they're going to value me much less than the ones that think about in terms of impact. So even if I could make them happy, they will value me less, and they're a far less profitable client for me than someone that says, I see the impact, tell me what I need to do. I'd like, a little bit enough to credible and those kinds of things. Another way of looking at that same thing is that they're really focused on price. So we all get that question early on. It's like, what's this going to cost me? And I tell people I'm not trying to dodge, but I need to scope what the project is before I can tell you what that is.
Yeah.
And then I'd be really later. I usually not at this point, but later I'll be really transparent with them, and I'll say that when they're focused on a price, and I'm not outrageously expensive, but I'm not cheap. And if the number I were to tell them up front, and I do have to scope it, so it's not like there's a price list. But if I told them the number up front, they would probably gag on the number. Yeah. Because they think about it, a cost is always too high. And in abstract, it seems like a lot of money. Yeah. On the other hand, when they start to think about impact this is what we can do as a result of working with Bruce, this is what the business will look like, they will write a much bigger check. They will do it faster with fewer reservations because they know what they are buying. And in fact, almost none of my clients have, am I a budget line item? It always comes up, during the year at some point, and they say, wow, if we could get those kind of results for that kind of investment, we'll go find the money. Oh, sure. Yes. That has been my experience too. Which is very different than people, some of the marketing people or the website, so if they don't have the budget for, if they don't put the website in for the next year's budget, it's not going to happen. It's like, well, that's because it's a cost. That's right. You make people money, they're willing to spend money. That's right. And so that you end up with, and this is what I tell my clients, is that you want clients that will write you a bigger check with a bigger smile on their face.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, wow, they're going to pay me more and be happy, as opposed to, you help people charge more and the clients aren't grumpy enough to actually leave. That's a totally different situation.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's been my experience, like 1,000%. And I am in the same boat with you as that. That's a huge red flag for me. And I'm the same. I have to scope it often, even though I have a package that we use for each of our services, but you do need to know the scope. It's a huge process, part of that process. So I'm the same. I would never give away the exact price because I'm not a bajillion dollars either, but it's not the cheapest investment of all time. Let's put it that way. So I agree with you.
And it's not a matter of manipulating them. It's about changing so that what they're comparing, what they're looking at, is an investment.
Yeah.
With a return, as opposed to a cost with process.
Yes, and the way that I'm sure you do this too, like the way that I like to lay that out is very value driven. So I want them to see what they're receiving and what they're going to get as a result of. And I want that to be really clear. And I don't want to be I don't like any ambiguity. So I always want to make sure it's right. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm never hiding money. It's really easy to get this information for me. It's just, I want to make clear what the value, what their specific firm's needs are. Have to get that information first before I can lay out the proposal.
Well, I go one step further with that, because I will always say, hey, if we're able, and let's just take referrals or something. If you were able to, you get, maybe 3 or 4 referrals from CPAs, a typical year. If we could, maybe double that to, 6 or 7, what would that do for your business?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to me saying, I can increase your business by 35%.
Right.
So it's there. And I tell them, don't sandbag me, please. But, don't put the rosy, don't think what the total upside could be. What do you think if we could do these very realistic improvements that you're unable to do on your own right now, but if you could do them better, more consistently, what the results are.
Yeah. Yep.
That's becomes an investment in something that they can see what the return is. So
true. And that is a great way to position if you're in services and you're on a consultation call. That's an excellent way to position it.
Makes me a great choice.
That's right. To circle back, I'm an excellent choice. I'm a great choice. Yeah. I may not be the best, but I am a great, excellent choice.
But you'll never find the best, because you don't even know how to define the best. Or
what that even mean? It's like it's like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like, it sounds amazing, but what does that even, where is it? Nobody knows. Well, Bruce, thank you so much. This has been, I'm not surprised at all that it was such a fabulous conversation, because I knew it was going to be, but I'm so glad that we had it, because I think it just really helps all of us to really reframe what it means to have amazing clients and how to begin that process of doing that. So I would love for you to share like where people can connect with you. If they want to work with you or learn more about your services, feel free to share where they can go as well, because I want everybody to have a chance to connect with you who sees this.
So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can do the whole LinkedIn thing, or you can just do brucelefetra.com. It goes to my LinkedIn page. You can go to my website, which is eastwoodstrategy.com. You learn a little bit more. Basically, I've got kind of tiered offerings. I can do an assessment to figure out where are people, do they have the right mindset? Is there enough impact there to make this, a great investment for them? I can also work in terms of either a workshop sort of format, which goes over a little bit of time and uses what you know internally, which is actually a lot more than you think you know. And then there's my traditional sort of engagement is actually doing interviews of your best clients. So this gets into what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And I always tell clients, I can't guarantee that there's a nugget out there, because I don't know for sure, but I've been doing this for 20 years and I've yet to have a client where some nugget didn't come out that made it all worthwhile.
Love that.
Because we know that we do a great job. We know that our clients, certain clients really appreciate us. They love working with us, but we're not very good at really sussing out why is that. And certainly in a way that is repeatable. We can maybe do the correlation things. We do 100 things and it happens. Well, you can't scale 100 things when 98 of them are inert. But if you figure out what the nuggets are, now you can scale it. And I love talking about this. So I really appreciate you inviting me on. I think it's an opportunity for those professionals who see their business. It's a business doing professional services. This is a way to grow that business, to scale it, to create the legacy, create some nice compensation along the way. But you're also truly having an impact on your clients. They're paying you a lot of money because you're creating a lot of value that they see. That makes most people feel pretty good.
That's right. And I am in alignment with you 100%. Like, my purpose in doing what I do is to help clients to figure out what that next level of success is, getting yourself to the place where you have a legacy. And it's not necessarily only about a financial legacy. It's about the impact that you can have in your law firm, in your business, whatever it is, the long term. Like, what does that mean to you? So I knew that this is such an important piece of that. If you're at that place where you're ready to scale and you're ready to grow, this is a really key, important piece to do that, in order for you to be that kind of standout, great option in whatever space you're in. So make sure to go and connect with Bruce on LinkedIn, because he has amazing content on his LinkedIn page. Make sure you go connect with him there. And then I will, of course, make sure to put in the description and in the section when we have this go live, his website for you to connect. So if you're interested in any of his services, that you can go ahead and begin that process. So Bruce, thank you again. This has been amazing. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My honor to have the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.